Hey guys, welcome to Thanks I Had a Podcast. Our guest today is Uttam Mukherjee, who co-owns Spice Waala with his wife Aakanksha Sinha.
Yes,
I even remembered her last name.
there you go.
How are you doing, Uttam?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
It's been a weird couple of months to start the year, a weird couple of weeks, but doing great. Every week's new. It's fantastic.
Every week is new. You can't have two identical weeks, that's true. I hear you're doing catering today?
I do have a catering that I need to drop off at the Ravenna Brewery later for the Seattle Children's
Nice.
Hospital, I believe. So,
Amazing. I
yeah.
didn't know you did catering, so I'm just sort of that's a light ad for everybody else if you need a caterer.
Yeah, please. We would love more catering.
Cool. Hey Jeff, how you doing? How's your week?
My week is getting better. I've been I've been down bad the past 3 days with like very predictable seasonal allergies.
Oh no.
But they just seem to get worse every year. Like
Yeah.
I'm on like a prescription allergy medication. I'm also taking like an antihistamine every day. And I literally just like was asleep yesterday. I worked all week and it just got so bad by the end of the week that yesterday I
Wow.
was just on the couch literally all day. Like it's weird like not being sick. Like I know I'm not sick,
Right.
but like my body and my head are just like so mad at me physically.
Are the allergy medications also knocking your ass out? Is it a
I don't know.
combined effort?
Well, it does make me feel a little bit weird because yeah, I'm usually just like the most sober person in the world. So even like a little change, like the Claritin, I think has caffeine in it, and I don't even drink caffeine
Does it
in my
really?
coffee.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so it's like I'm even a little bit caffeinated, which is abnormal for me.
And still totally knocked out. Wow. I actually
Yeah.
have allergies too, and I was walking here and I went to stop to get coffee at Bluebeard, and my eyes are just pouring water, and the barista's like, "Are you okay, Meg?" So I feel you, but I also think, and Tom, do you have an opinion on this? When you turn about 30, 35-ish, you
It's
get
all
new
downhill.
allergies. You get brand new allergies.
Well,
I
I
think.
mean, allergies or not, it's all downhill. Trust me.
You're just like, you start dying. Good point. I
No,
when I
that's absolutely true. I ate some ceviche a couple of weeks ago in LA, and my throat started closing, and I don't have any allergies.
you just
I
have
was like,
new ones.
"What is
Yeah.
this?" So anyway, yes, I agree.
Do we all ultimately die of allergies, just like being
Yeah.
allergic to being alive ultimately? Like everything you eat you're allergic to and then your body just shuts down? Think
Well,
about it, man.
I did have a doctor explain to me that like climate change impacts people's allergies
Okay.
and that people are becoming like just basically more allergic to whatever they're allergic to.
But more
And
so.
it kind of dawned on me today that maybe that's like the earth like fighting back against
Yeah.
humanity.
I like that.
That's one of the small ways that the earth can be like, no, fuck you guys actually. Like this is unacceptable.
You
Cuz like
guys
did people have allergies before like the industrial revolution? Like I don't know.
I don't know, they were
They were
dead.
just chilling, you
They
know? Like
died at age 45. Well, they probably
Exactly.
had
Of
yeah.
cold lungs.
Yeah.
yeah.
Of coal lung, exactly.
If
That's
if
an
the
allergy.
allergies don't get you, the coal will.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
technically allergic to cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All right. Well, Uttam's one of my favorite, all-time favorite podcast guests from the last podcast that Mark and I were on, and it's because you like to collect data and report it. So you're like a data journalist, in my opinion, a restaurant data specifically. And so the reason I thought to book you is because I saw that you posted a poll on Instagram, wherein you're asking people whether they feel like they're dining out less lately in Seattle, and if so, why. And I wanted
Yes.
to just kick things off by talking about what you learned from that. First of all, the fact that you posted it at all, I think, was really interesting and helpful, obviously. You said you got like a
Yeah.
thousand responses from it. A lot
Yeah.
of eyeballs were on it.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that you're asking these questions and then collecting the data.
I mean, I think it's so important because I do think so. We've had at Spicewaala, we've not had a good run for, I don't know, 12, 15 months now, right? So 2025 for us was down versus 2024. Primarily, a lot of it was because there's a construction going on next to our Ballard location where customers are scared to walk through our front door because there's cranes on top of their heads. And that's actual quotes from customers, right? So, and then 2026 has started down versus 2025. And I do think there's just been a lot of things that have been adding up between the economy, just turmoil, tariffs, accounting for that, layoffs because of AI in Seattle impacting kind of tech workers. Obviously now the war in Iran and the oil prices and all those kind of things, and then just cost of goods just continuously increasing from 2020 till now. So there's been a lot of things that have impacted the economy in general, and I think we are seeing it tremendously. And you both know this. Our food is very economical, right? For like $13, you can have a full meal. Technically, I probably eat like $9.50 in my own restaurant, and that's like lunch for me. And so I do feel like in a recession or whatever you want to call this economy, technically people should be coming more and more to Spice Waala, and we're not seeing that. We're seeing a decline in revenue, a decline in customers, a decline in everything. And so from that standpoint, I just feel like we need to understand why. And so I posted that, trying to get engagement from customers and trying to understand what we can do better to serve them so that they can come in more regularly. I was shocked that we got 1,000 responses. I was shocked with the amount of comments that we got on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. And I was just shocked with the number of restaurant owners that reached out saying, thank you for doing that. We're in the same boat. That's brave. Thank you for bringing up this conversation. And then, I just felt like the insights were very good. So, the couple of things that kind of stood out to us, obviously, was the by far, I think it was like 3x more than the next answer was things are just too expensive. I think all of us feel this when we go to the grocery store. Maybe in 2019, it used to be like $20 for a week's worth of grocery for one person. Just making that up. Obviously, it wasn't, and now it's like $100. And so that delta, I think, restaurants have raised the prices of their menus, whether it's justified or not, but it's definitely much, much higher than what it used to be. So, going out used to maybe be $30 to $40 for a nice meal, and now it's like $80 to $90 without even drinks or anything like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so a lot of people brought that up, but the reasons that they brought up for kind of not going out as much was interesting, right? There was definitely an aspect of tech layoffs in there, general layoffs in Seattle. There was an aspect of my money's not stretching as much as it used to because my income has just remained the same. Cost of living has just gone up in general. And then I thought the one that was very, very interesting was diets. So diet pills, diet plans, diet suppression, GLP, all that kind of stuff, which honestly, I would not have considered at all unless one of my friends had told me that they'd been on these pills a couple of months ago, and I'd seen how much weight they had lost, and I was like, what are you doing? And that's the first time I even understood that this was a big trend that was going on.
Yeah, I didn't. That was a shocker to me too. I think maybe since you mentioned that, I wonder if people. It's so weird. I mean, I don't want to talk about fat culture as a big person, but I think that it's not for me to decide who deserves to be on GLPs and who doesn't. But I think often people that I would think of as thin or, medium are probably on it.
Yes.
And we just don't think about it.
Yeah.
That's not a judgment call. They can be. Yeah. But I think it would
become
surprise
a lot more available, a lot more prevalent. A lot more people who are doing it. So the risk has gone down because you know that the side effects are not bad and those kind of things. So I think a lot more people are taking it as a better way to reduce their size instead of exercise and restricting the kind of food that they're eating and those kind of things. So to each their own. But I just did not expect that would be such a big factor in this.
Yeah,
especially in Seattle.
Right.
I would think that my generalization of Seattle is that not only are they in pretty good shape as far as body mass index or whatever, they're generally not massive people compared to other parts of the country. They also seem like they're really active. We love doing we're outdoorsy.
Right.
We all play sports. It just seems so surprising to me that would be enough people that you would even consider that to be a reason why your business is fluctuating in the slightest. But
and I thought the other thing which was interesting is a lot of other restaurant owners that commented and stuff like that were talking about how alcohol sales have also gone down. And I think with dry January kind of becoming more and more prevalent, with non-alcoholic beers or drinks in general becoming more and more prevalent, I think it's not so much a factor for us, but I think in general for the industry, that is a big factor where those are technically higher profit margin items that they were selling. And now that's kind of declined. So that's a factor for a lot of other people.
Yeah, I was at the Northwest Cider Association's cider symposium last
Yeah.
week here in Tacoma, and that was a very frequent topic of discussion. People just aren't drinking as much,
Yeah.
and it hurts them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like as a bartender, I've always known that alcohol is like where the money is. Even with restaurants that serve food, like the more cocktails you can give people, especially, that's like the highest amount of profit you can possibly
Yeah.
make is selling a cocktail.
Yeah.
But the alcohol industry must be in even worse shape than the general restaurant industry.
Yeah.
You know, like I haven't read a lot about it, but it seems like that just must be something that's absolutely tanking.
Yeah.
Because that's not just like a economic problem. Like
Yeah.
and I don't even want to call it a problem. I think it's a positive thing. But like, people are literally drinking less
Yeah.
on like a year over year basis, and
Yeah.
it's like generational. It's not just because like they don't feel like they have money for cocktails. It's like
Yeah.
it has to do with the onset of marijuana being so accessible,
Yeah.
being so culturally acceptable. You
Yeah.
know, I think a lot of people are just turning to that as like a less destructive
Yeah.
We
alternative
also
to
watch
alcohol.
our parents die of congestive heart failure from drinking constantly. So
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't think
Yeah.
drinking will ever be the way it was like
No.
20 years ago.
I did read an article about how, if you take it as an example, like the craft beer industry has essentially collapsed, where there used to be, 100 craft breweries in every city, and now it's like one or two because they aren't being able to survive because there's not enough volume for beer drinking anymore. Whereas
Yeah.
before, like your Sam Adams and those kind of people were picking them up and like acquiring them and consolidating them within larger corporations, and now that's just not happening. So a lot of them are going under.
Yeah.
So I do think the alcohol industry is probably in a much worse shape. But I don't honestly know because I'm not in the bar scene, or I don't go out drinking as much and those kind of things. So
does Spice Waala serve beer?
we serve beer
Okay.
in two out of our three locations, but like it's not a big draw, a draw for customers. Sorry. So like we've never like accounted for it to be like a big profit generator or
Yeah.
like a big revenue generator or anything like that. We don't really push it necessarily.
So what did you learn other than the GLP thing? What did
Yeah.
you learn that you did not know from this pool?
Well, I think for us, so one of the big things that we are focusing on this year, based on the insights that we garnered from this, is we're focusing a lot more on pantry items, which a lot of other restaurants, grocery stores, etc., are doing or have been doing. We've had pantry items before, like you can take our chutneys home in 9-ounce jars, or we've done specials which are frozen or not frozen and those kind of things. But this year, like for example, at this point of time right now, we have fresh paneer available for purchase in blocks. We've launched a mango pickle, we've launched a chili crunch, we've got 2 frozen items which are both like pastas. So like we're trying to round that out so that that feels like more economical for a lot of people, where they can take it home and have a meal for 2 or something like that. So we're trying to round that out so that people can take us home also and have a little bit more Spice Waala every day almost, or every week. So that's one big thing that we have focused on. I think the second big thing is that we need to understand where people are, because if people are not, they're kind of intimidated to go out because they think it's too expensive. We need to understand where they are and kind of go to them. So like, the people who are still in offices and those kind of things, go to them at that point in time where they are still in the habit of eating out, and try to reach them at there instead of asking them to come to the restaurant. So, we've got a van now that we've activated that, we've done one festival in so far, and we're going to try to activate that a little bit more.
Cool. Great.
Yeah, so like it's those kind of things that we're trying to understand, how to grow our business while being smart and efficient.
How many years have you been in business at Spice Waala?
Next month will be 8 years.
8 years. So is this
Yeah.
the first year you've seen a downturn, or has it been the
No,
year before?
2025 was the first year that we saw a downturn.
Even during the pandemic? Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, we started in the restaurants in April of 2019, but we started Spice Waala in April 2018.
Okay.
So when we were just taking off in the restaurants, in January of 2020 is when the pandemic hit. So technically, the pandemic wasn't necessarily a downturn for us because we had a very, very low base.
Right.
We were so
I
small,
see.
like, Aakanksha and I were still working every shift and all those kind of
Yeah.
things. So it's just very different for us versus a lot of people who might have started in 2017, 2018. But yeah, 2025 was the first big year that we were down. 2024 was really bad because of the changes in the delivery pay up legislation. that went into effect, and then 2025 was bad because of just the economy, and then 2026 is looking like it's going to be the same as 2025.
That's terrible to hear.
Yeah.
Where do the changes in the minimum wage for tipped employees fit into that math for you? Because I know at the start of 2025, any tipped employee was able to be paid sub minimum wage, I think by $2.
Yeah.
And then that was taken away in 2025. So can you talk about like how that played a factor in?
Yeah, so before 2025, it went into effect January 2025, right?
Yes.
So before 2025, in 2024, we had actually started already paying our employees what we expected the minimum wage was going to be in 2025, so that we could actually understand what the impact would be on our P&L. There's two aspects for us, right? One is the top line revenue, and we are a low value restaurant, right? So like we're cheap eats, so we need more volume, right? The more volume we have people working the same number of hours. We need more people to come and spend their money, and then the people who are working are producing more food, and therefore we are more profitable, right? It's not based on we have a max number of tables that we have to turn over, those kind of things. It's a different business model, like Chipotle, like McDonald's, etc., like that, right? So for us, we had we've seen a decline in revenue in 2025 and then 2026, but then the minimum wage impact has taken a hit on our bottom line as well. And so what we've had to do in 2020, in midway 2025 and 2026, is reduce the number of employees that we have. So we have had, historically, we've had like 5 employees in total in our Capitol Hill restaurant. We're at 4 right now. Historically, we've had 5 people in our Ballard location. We are at 3.75 right now. Historically, we've had 5 people in a Columbus City location. We've cut lunches because they were maybe $100 to $200 in lunch sales, so it was nothing. And we've just gone to dinners only, so we only have 2 employees now. So there's definitely been an impact on the top line, but also in the bottom line because of the minimum wage, because of cost of goods, because of rent hikes, because of everything. And so so we've had to change the way that we operate and our business model. Now, if the revenue comes back and we see a reversal in consumer trends or anything like that, we can always add more employees, right? But with where we are seeing things headed and where we are today, we're not in a place that we feel comfortable with having the same number of employees that we used to have in 2024.
So it seems like, I was really taken when you mentioned right off the bat that you anticipated this change, and you even implemented it before you were legally required to.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about why you decided to do that?
So I think one of the big reasons, in my opinion, that a lot of restaurants go out of business is because they don't understand their financials. Meg knows this about us, but like we do our financials every week. We look at the previous week's sales, we look at all the costs, and we see were we profitable or not. Every single week, then our financial officer, who's my dad, he does it on a monthly basis, and he asks 100 questions to make sure that we are, actually focusing on the right things, and then we obviously do like our annual taxes. But I think for us, we weren't able to understand the impact of minimum wage unless we were to put in place the actual costs. Because you can model it out, but if you actually don't know what your sales are gonna do, you don't really know what the bottom line is gonna look like. And so in a year where we felt comfortable, 2024 was better than a lot of other, than 2025 or 2026. We felt like it was good to put that in place, tell the employees this is coming. So when January 2025 comes along, you might not see an increase, but you are seeing it now. And then like we were trying to understand what our optimal employee ratio could be in 2025 onwards.
Did you ever entertain any alternative ways to mitigating that labor increase? Like as far as like taking something else from the employees that you weren't required to give them to kind of balance out that hit that you were taking to your revenue? Yeah,
so I mean it's tough, right? Because by far the biggest expense is wages. So like even when you look at benefits, so we provide, if someone enrolls in our healthcare, we provide 50% of the premium. If someone is with us for more than 3 months, we give them profit sharing of the restaurant. If someone's been with us for more than 3 months, we give them a transportation card, which is $6 a month, and we pay the rest. $6 pay cycle, we pay the rest. We give 2 weeks of PTO plus extra days for like Thanksgiving, July 4th. All of that doesn't actually add up to that much as compared to the increase in minimum wage. So like, we could sit here and nickel dime and say, hey, I'm taking away your healthcare, I'm taking this away. But like, will that employee go somewhere else? And then we've lost someone who has worked with us for 2, 4, 5 years, who has given us a lot of value. And then we have to retrain, rehire, spend more money on that. And that person might turn over in 3-6 months, right? So like, is it really worth that or not? We didn't think it was, based on like our values. And then I think the second part was, a lot of other businesses have decided to do service charge instead of tips. And for us as a low value option, if our kati rolls are $8.50, adding on a 10% mandatory service charge just annoys the customers, because we aren't technically providing a service at your table. And so we thought that there was going to be a lot of friction from that standpoint, so we didn't go there. And we honestly have not seen our tips decline percentage-wise since all of this has happened. We haven't raised our prices that much, so that kind of helps. We've kind of held the line. So we've had to factor in a lot of different things, which I think a lot of restaurants may or may not have factored in.
The answer to this is obvious, but rhetorically, why isn't every restaurant doing this? Why isn't everyone crunching all these numbers? I don't know. I will never forget another local restaurant owner saying that they just spend all the money that they spend every week and then they hope they make a profit. I don't know why everyone isn't doing this.
So I think we have one advantage, which is, Aakanksha and my background in, corporate world or et cetera, et cetera. So like,
yeah.
I've been trained in this my whole life, right? So
right.
That's one thing. I think the second thing is that if I was working every single shift in my single restaurant and I was working 12, 14 hours, I don't know if I would have the energy to do the same amount of work on the back end, on the admin stuff that is needed, right? So I think from that standpoint, I think a lot of other restaurant owners, you could probably forgive them for just being too busy or too overwhelmed.
That's the answer that I assumed is
exactly
the explanation. Yeah.
But then I think a lot of other people also just don't understand the expenses.
They don't think about it. Yeah.
So like, oh shoot, I forgot to include my my dishwashing expenses. I get hit with a $500 bill every time they drop off a container of cleaning supplies. Mm-hmm. That's a big expense, right? If you think about it, that's like almost like one employee's hours for the day, So like, It can be bad from that standpoint.
It seems like a lot of your optimism or just your kind of intent to have like a business plan that's going to work for you in the near future is based on increasing volume. Like you kind of said so much recently where it's like you just need more people to come in the restaurant because that's the best way for you to make more money. And it seems like an obvious statement. And I guess it's a little bit easier for you to make if you are able to say my food is affordable compared to a lot of food that you can buy in Ballard or in Capitol Hill or wherever. So for restaurants that have a higher price point, not even like actual fine dining, but kind of like in between fine dining, like when increasing volume is not a consideration because they have this like standard of service and product to uphold, the same as you do, by the way. But it's just like something that they have to tout that they couldn't possibly, come down in price or in concept for the community that they claim to serve. Like, what would you say about that?
So traditionally, like when theoretically, when I've studied business strategy, you have to pick one or the other. You have to either be high price, low volume, high margin, or you have to be low price, large volume. If you're usually stuck in the middle, you kind of are in a very precarious place unless you know how to play it very well. The thing that I would say though is a lot of people are taking on additional businesses within the existing business. So for example, Beast and Cleaver, they have their butcher box now. That's a completely separate business line. within the same establishment. They can do that and they have the capacity. So they've had to supplement it. But if you think about it, it's a completely different business. You're now becoming an e-commerce slash shipping business, subscription business, all that kind of stuff. A lot of places like us have started doing retail. So you can buy like 20 items. Like I think Mamnoon did this when they were still around. They had all their Mamnoon products available in Whole Foods, PCCs, etc., etc. You have to find that volume somehow. And if you can't do it physically within your service hours from 5 to 9, you have to find it outside that through reaching customers some other way. I do think a lot of people who are much younger than me or are relying on social media to drive that coolness, that marketing factor, and bring people into the door and make sure that they are sold out every single day.
Do you think that works with reels and paid ads and things like that?
From the outside looking in, it seems like it works. Is it sustainable for the long term? Like, are you building real relationships with customers? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And you also open yourself up for more risk because 100 people came knocking on your door. If 2 or 3 had a bad experience, the downward spiral starts, right?
That's true.
But I will say that a lot of younger people who are getting into the hospitality industry as a whole, coffee, beer, wine, food, etc., they are utilizing that as a business strategy instead of the fundamentals that a lot of people used to rely on, which is like good quality food, good quality drinks, good service, good values, like any of those kind of things. There's very few people who are doing it all, I think.
And basic math also. They're not doing that part either.
Yeah.
Well, back to the economy in general, I think that the people that are going to look on their social media to see like whether they want to come to the rooftop bar that I work at or whether they want to come to like some restaurant that has like an incredibly Instagrammable design or whatever, the people in that income bracket are dwindling, and they're becoming less, their ability to have expendable income is not like it was before. So I just think that from a general demographic standpoint, like you're not reaching as many people as you think you are with that, and you also say like it's a different quality of customer. Like I keep, my job is the Instagrammable job. So it's really easy for me to talk about this where it's like people come up and they order the one drink that they saw people post about so that they can take a picture of it. And then they walk around the roof taking pictures for 20 minutes. And then they sit there and edit the pictures on their phone for like an hour. And then they leave. So it's like, was that really a successful experience for the restaurant? Like maybe that person is an influencer and they're going to ostensibly have like 100 more people that come in because they took those pictures. But more than likely, that's not the case. They're just doing it because they're trying to get attention from other people or, whatever people do that for. So it's not really a profitable thing for us.
I guess the boost doesn't hurt as long as you don't run afoul of the influencers, right?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we used to work with influencers a lot, 2022 to 2024. I would say in that kind of time period, we were trying to understand how we could reach a broader customer base and drive more awareness about Spice Waala, the brand. And so we worked with a bunch of influencers, asked them to come in, all that kind of stuff. I will say to your point, there was very few influencers that actually drove customers to come in through our door. Even with 50,000 views, 100,000 views, 300,000 views, there was very few times that we could say, oh shoot, that's because of that reel. More so, like I've had more people come in because they heard me on KUOW. Like it's very weird, but like there's a very different, like engaged audience to your point versus not engaged, just scrolling audience. Now, I will say there are people who are like, I need to go eat that salt bread, that Korean bread or whatever, and they will line up.
Yeah.
Will they come back? Will they will your business sustain? I don't know.
Yeah. I love that you looked at the numbers for that. I keep saying this over and over. Like, no one bothers to check. They're like, I'll pay an influencer or I'll lure influencers in. And then they're like, hope that helped.
Yeah.
Who can tell? But you can.
Yeah.
Right. The lack of follow through is something that I've seen throughout my years as a restaurant employee. Like, owners will get this bright idea that they think this is going to be a solution. Yeah. And then they implement it, by the way, in a way that's not even like a really efficient or entire implementation. Like, it's just kind of a half-assed way to implement it, just like on this wild hair.
Yeah.
And then they are just left wondering whether anything worked or not. Like, there's no follow-up as far as, like, how did that go for us? Like, let's have a conversation in retrospect and see, like, if it actually affected things. It just seems like, okay, well, that was another great idea by me. Can't wait for the next one.
Another great idea by me.
I think
That's
it
the
also
name of the
depends on the
show.
influencer, right? Because it's a two-way street. So, like, I think, Connor Kaysen, Find Me in Seattle, I've enjoyed working with him in the past because he will send you a message saying, hey, this reel's doing really well because of blah, or it's doing better than blah, blah, blah. I'm getting a lot of comments, blah, 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 like that kind of stuff. But a lot of the influencers, which are like either coming in for money or for the free food, you'll never hear from them again. They'll post something, but you'll never hear from them again. And I think that's like the difference in the quality of that interaction, whether that follow through is going to come through, because that influencer's customer base knows that these people are genuine. And I think that's very, very different.
Shout out to Connor, by the way. I love him. We should interview him, actually. I bet he'd have some interesting stuff to say. We are at 1:42. I think we probably ran out of time to talk about news. I had a little news story about the guy who owns Bar Cotto.
Saw that. Yeah.
Do you see that? Do you want to chat about that for like 3 minutes? I guess I don't need to explain it to you. I just sent the post to Jeff as well. He was complaining about how at his Belltown, he owns Bar Cotto and Cotto, and his Belltown store had the dumpsters set on fire, and there was a big mess in the alley, and the city essentially won't do anything about it. But then he got busted for having a glass of wine when the restaurant was closed and the liquor board stopped through. So his complaint is that they're cracking down on shit like that, but they won't help them with major vandalism issues. And I thought the comments were interesting too. Like the guy who owns, Steven Severin, who owns Life on Mars, said he had to shut down his patio because of vandalism, because people are doing drugs out there, even though it was about 20% of his business. He just, it wasn't worth it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't care what anyone says. The city's in shambles.
Yeah.
Like,
it's changed.
It's terrible. Like I mean, knock on wood, our businesses have not been damaged by any of this stuff, but we have unhoused people walking into our Capitol Hill restaurant very regularly. Yeah. Our policy is always give them some food, send them on their way.
Yeah.
But like, it was just a couple of weeks ago where this woman came in, was pretending to look at our menu, stole some stuff. So I came around the counter, talked to her, said, hey, can I get you some food? I'll walk you outside. She grabbed the tip jar and left. Like, those kind of interactions just happen on a regular basis. Now, I think I empathize tremendously with my employees because they're not paid to do this.
Right.
You know, and you're not paid to like have to deal with these kind of instances, but we have them so often. We've had people sleeping under the awning in Ballard so often.
Yeah.
And I remember going for a meeting with Bruce Harrell after I just moved an unhoused person from under my awning in Ballard. I went for a meeting and I said, this city is atrocious. Like, we're just not dealing with the problems. He's like, what are you talking about? I don't see any issues. I'm like, if that's what your elected officials are going to think, then we already have a problem, right? Like, there's a bigger problem.
Harold is such a useless piece of shit on that subject too.
But like it's just I think it's pervasive. Like, you speak to a lot of people in power right now, there is no understanding of how bad it is for business owners in general, right? With small business owners, large business owners, it doesn't matter. Every business owner in Seattle is just struggling with this because they either have to deal with someone who's unhoused or have to deal with someone who's just high, deal with someone who's breaking stuff. And like, so many businesses have been almost being put out of business. The Seattle Biscuit Company, when their what was it, their refrigerator was stolen or the compressor was stolen,
they
like
stole
that almost put them out of business.
Yeah, I remember that. I have great empathy for unhoused people because it fucking sucks to be unhoused, but it's not the problem of the business owners. It's the problem. It should be. It is the problem of the business owners. Yeah. Unfairly. And I don't know if Katie Wilson, I know she just started, she swore up and down she was going to do something about it. So did Bruce Harrell and did nothing.
Yeah.
I hope she hurries up.
Yeah.
That's all I can really say. I also don't live in King County anymore, so I can't vote for things like this anymore. But like, I'm there 4 days a week and I see it. Yeah. It's hard to know it's hard to have a take on it anymore.
Yeah, because I mean, like if you think about it, it's so you want a city where people want to open businesses where they can employ more people, everyone gets
Right.
paid more, they can live in the city, etc. Right.
Right.
I think that's just like basic economy principles, right? Right now, if someone said, "Hey, I've got a space that I will pay you to be in Pioneer Square," I would probably say no
Yeah.
because of just how bad it is over there, right? Like there's just so many issues in general. Belltown also, I would say like Capitol Hill, there's definitely areas. Ballard, there's definitely areas. Like so,
You
like
used to
which
say
part
that
of the
about
city is,
Ballard, yeah.
yeah, so like which part of the city is good right now?
I mean, it sort of defeats the complaint to be like, oh, well, let's move all our business to Bryant or Magnolia
Yeah,
or something. You know, like
yeah, yeah,
that doesn't fix the problem.
yeah.
Jeff, do you have a take on this since you work in Pioneer Square?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of mentioned this on the show before. My building is a little bit different because it is a whole like new development and there's a lot of security. So I think that those
Yeah.
problems just straight up don't exist on that block because security just takes care of them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you worked in Ballard for a long time, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think that I ever witnessed like any vandalism happen at Walrus. We certainly had some vandalism at Stampede, and you know, just as a bar that was open till 2 a.m. every night, and it was usually just me and one more person in there. I had to deal with a lot of stuff, like kind of what you're talking about. Like I didn't realize that I was going to be like a
Yeah.
community first responder in some
Yeah.
ways just by being a bartender.
Yeah.
So that's definitely really unfortunate. I guess my broader takeaway is that like when there are problems in the city like this, I wonder how much responsibility is on the people that have even a little bit of power. You know, like let's say the employees of a restaurant for all these purposes basically have their voice is just one unit of like a voting person in our society. They basically have a minimal amount of power. But if you're a business owner or if you own like half a dozen businesses or if you have businesses all throughout the city, like isn't it your responsibility to put pressure on the people that have just enough more power than you do, and it kind of just goes up from there? Like I kind of think
Right.
about it's like the opposite of trickle down economics. It's like trickle up problem solving, you know?
100%.
Like,
And I'll tell you this because you bring that up. So I'm on the board of the Seattle Restaurant Association. We've met. I've personally met in roundtables with three council members right now, and I will tell you that the responses I've gotten from them has been so disheartening.
wow.
It's ridiculous. Like I even went to a town hall of one council member to talk about the problems in one of our business, and there hasn't been any follow up, none
Wow.
whatsoever.
Wow.
Like and like so then the question becomes like, how much effort do you need to put in to get any change? Because if you have to put in, you know, 10% of your time to do that, that's 10% I'm taking away from doing anything for my employees and my customers.
Right.
And so is that worth it or not? Like one of my gripes, for example, in Ballard is that there are always no parking signs left by the construction company, even when the signs are outdated or they're not valid. And when you speak to SDOT, they're like, we just don't have the people to enforce it. I'm like, so do you expect me or my employees to have to go and check those things every day? No.
Exactly. Exactly.
So like that's just a system failure in general, and there's no one who's going to do anything about it, even if you talk to them 10 times, because
Right.
there's no budget or there's no people
Right.
or there's no whatever.
Right. I mean, it kind of seems like you're experiencing a really similar thing that I am, but just kind of like 1 degree higher, where like
Yeah.
I'm talking to a specific restaurant group, an ownership
Yeah.
group, and
Yeah.
we're basically saying like, what do you expect us to do if you're like lowering our compensation? You know, we talk about how the economy's bad. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad for us too. Like
Yeah.
that isn't just something
Yeah.
that affects
Yeah.
the owning class. Like,
Yeah.
and we basically just come to them like, please, like you really can't like morally do this to us, like actually. And they're like, well, we don't
Right.
have a choice, you know?
and
Like
yet
we're
we
the, like,
have, yeah.
yeah,
We're
like
still
so,
doing
so
it.
I mean, it's just interesting that you're being told the same thing as a group of business owners
Yeah.
who then feel powerless to like the next level, which is like the local government
100%.
officials.
I
So
mean,
I just
100%.
wonder.
We've talked about so many things. So like I told you about the fact that like for us volume is like the most important thing, right? probably one of the most devastating legislations for us has been the pay up legislation for delivery drivers that was put into place January 1st, 2024. It's not I'm not complaining about the fact that there was an intent to pay delivery drivers $26 an hour. That was not the problem ever. The problem is the way that it was interpreted by your delivery companies like Uber Eats and DoorDash, that there was such gaping holes left in the legislation that they've interpreted in a way where now suddenly Spice Waala food, which is for $20 in our restaurant or on the app, it costs the customer $40 to purchase. Now, that obviously is a huge hit on anything because basic economics tells you that the demand's going to drop, right? And so from that standpoint, we've spoken to so many council members about this. No one wants to take it up. They know that businesses are hurting just because of this. They put it in place. So they know how to fix it.
Right. And yet?
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's because Uber is another level higher than them on the amount of power that people have.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
well, Uber? Well, what if Uber's like not in Seattle anymore? Like they could like threaten to, it's like
That's
the same
fine.
thing
They
as
can
like
fuck right off into the sun.
billionaires
I don't
thing.
care. I don't care if Uber dies tomorrow. And I don't
Right.
drive.
Yeah.
I'm not a driver. I don't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
I never have had one.
Yeah.
Uber can fuck off into the sun. I don't care. You have 8 minutes left. Do you want to talk, Uttam? Do you want to talk about what you ate this week, and then we'll let you go cater?
Yeah, it was. So I will apologize because it was a very weird week. So I didn't eat out at all this week. But
That's okay. It's just a platform to recommend.
I know.
local
That's why. So
businesses. Yeah.
I feel
Fine.
like if people haven't eaten a pigeon cooperative, they definitely should.
I haven't gotten out there yet, and that's why I haven't gotten anywhere. Is that it's not in my flight path. That's a
Yeah.
bad reason. I need to go out there. So thank you for
It's
reminding me.
completely worth it. Please eat there. I think the food is so much better when it's nice and fresh and hot. And Zach and
Yeah.
Seth, the two brothers that were doing Brothers in Company before, great people. What they've done with the business as a cooperative, amazing, really interesting. So I definitely think people should go there if
What
you
did
haven't
you
had
eat?
a chance. So the surprising thing for me was actually the rice cakes, which
Oh, yeah?
when I was talking to Zach and Seth, they were saying that it was actually an afterthought for them to put it on the menu.
Really?
I do like their ramen. I think it's really good, obviously, but their rice cakes was very surprising. It had so many different flavor elements in it that I was not surprising. And I do like the rice cakes that you get in like Din Tai Fung and those kind of places, but these ones
Okay.
were just on next level, just with the amount of flavor that you had in it.
Are you talking about like a little doughy sort of a bun type rice cake, like a gochujang, or
So like if you take like the like Korean rice cakes almost, and you like
like
slice
a
them.
tteokbokki type thing?
Yeah, but
Okay,
then slice
got
them
it.
into small
I said
pieces.
gochujang. I meant tteokbokki. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and then you put them and slice them in small pieces and saute them really fast. Yeah, that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Ooh, I
it
want
was
that.
very, very good.
Hell yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put it on my to-do list like tomorrow. I'm gonna go there tomorrow. God damn it. That's a good one. Anything else?
I did try AK Pizza finally because we live in the
Oh
neighborhood.
God, I want to go there so bad. How was it?
It was good.
Oh my God, did you
tried
have to
it.
wait?
Probably the perks of having a good Instagram. I reached out via
Yeah.
Instagram, and Alex was kind enough to be like, "Hey, come tomorrow. I'll get you some."
Smart,
I didn't know
smart.
that he's eating at a restaurant and those kind of things, but it was very, very sweet of him and his wife to hook us up.
Nice.
Really nice people. It seems like I've met them once now, but really nice people. It seems like, and I was very, very happy with that.
8K is in Othello?
Yeah, exactly. Right next to
Okay.
Othello Station. And
Super.
I don't know if everyone knows this, but I think they do have some availability to do walk-ins. I don't
Okay.
think they publish it, or like they don't know how much. I think it's based potentially on how much
Okay.
dough they have or
I
something
didn't-
like that. But
I didn't know that either.
yeah,
Okay.
so that's like when I was there was someone else who had just walked in and had ordered and got a pizza. So, take your chance.
Jeff, do you know about AK Pizza?
I don't know about AK Pizza, but I am excited that you mentioned Pigeon Collective because I too have been meaning to go there for all the reasons you guys mentioned.
Yeah. AK is like super blistery, charred. I wouldn't even say it's a specific style. It's just this guy Alex is like, I make pizza, and he was doing it out of his home, I think, or maybe out of a commissary kitchen, and now he finally has a brick and mortar in Othello. So I
So
gotta
it's
get
like
down there
really
too.
thin crust, but it's not like floppy at all. It's like kind of
Yeah.
cooked a little bit more fully.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
Leopard spotted, as it were. What toppings did you get, Uttam?
We had the plain cheese, and then we had the vodka.
Ooh, taco
So
sauce.
those it was kind of
Nice.
interesting to see the comparison of those two.
That
I
sounds
do
awesome.
wish, I want to go back and get the pepperoni or something like that, and see what that's like. But yeah,
Nice. Should we let you go? Because you've got 4 minutes to run out the door, and then Jeff and I can talk about what we ate. Does that sound all
sounds
right?
good. Yeah, I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time, both of you. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
the
much. You're always a
conversation.
delight, and you're always. I was telling Jeff earlier, you always have super smart things to say, and you say them very diplomatically. So I enjoy you. I'll come out and see you. I want some pantry items. I want some chutney.
Absolutely.
So,
We'd love to hook you up.
all right. Have a great day.
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Bye. Jeff, what did you eat?
I had kind of a similar week to Uttam. I didn't really eat out that much. We're working a lot
That's okay.
at the restaurant, and then I had my allergies, which kind of made me not really want to
Yeah.
eat stuff. But I did go to a really indulgent breakfast yesterday at Salmon Bay Cafe.
Oh, I haven't been there in 1,000 years.
I
How
know.
was that?
I'm kind of on a run of going to these establishment places that for some reason are sailing. I mean, I know why it's sailing themed. It's obviously right
Yeah.
next to all the sailboats, but we went to Sloop Tavern last weekend
Great.
and just played pool and had fish and chips, and I
Great.
was just man, this place rocks in every way. Even
Yeah.
the pool tables are 50 cents.
Yeah.
In Salmon Bay, I got just a big Denver omelet, just kind of a comfort order for me after just a hard weekend at work.
Fantastic.
And the home fries were really good. They were I feel like they double fry them.
Yeah.
Because they just had such a nice crispy almost it was a little bit deep fried on the outside, but then just a really perfect texture inside as well.
Kind of like those, if you go to a Greek place, they have the sort of double battered, double fried
Yeah, a little
fries
the
that are
fries.
sealed and then they're fluffy inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about JoJo's before. I feel like
Yeah.
they were almost like home fried JoJo's a little bit.
Very slender JoJo's. Yeah.
Very slender JoJo's.
The slenderest JoJo. I haven't been
also
there in
went-
10 years. That place is great. Thank you for
Yeah.
reminding me.
I've been meaning to go, and like I said, I just kind of love greasy spoon places like
An
that.
old diner. Yeah.
Yeah,
A
that was-
dockside diner.
Yeah, exactly. I also randomly went to a coffee shop in Magnolia, the Ugly Mug Cafe. It's
Okay.
right off of Elliott on Dravis.
Okay.
And I just needed a breakfast sandwich. I had an appointment in the morning and I didn't have time to eat. And it was a ham croissant breakfast sandwich. It had fresh tomatoes on it, which I know is not everybody's thing, but I really like
fresh
that.
tomatoes.
If I do it's a grilled cheese. It's like a grilled cheese with ham and tomatoes almost, but it's a croissant,
That sounds great.
and it was just a perfect breakfast.
As long
too.
as it's not a bullshit winter tomato and it's a good tomato. That sounds killer.
No, the tomato was adequate.
Good.
But yeah, everything else about that place was nice too, and it was just a really solid breakfast sandwich. So.
I forgot that there's another Ugly Mug. So the original Ugly Mug is in the U District right by the light rail station, and it's called that because there are gargoyles of an ugly man's face going carved into the building. So the
Oh,
cafe in the bottom of it's an apartment building. The cafe in the bottom of the building is called the Ugly Mug, and get it? It's an ugly mug. It's a mug
Right.
of coffee. But I forgot that there's another location. So thank you
Huh.
for reminding me.
Yeah, I didn't notice if they had any gargoyles there for effect.
Yeah, maybe there's a logo or something of the
Yeah.
ugly gargoyle.
Yeah. But that's pretty
cool.
much it for me. What did you eat?
That's plenty. That's 2 whole things. What did I eat? I went to Baba Yaga. I had a business meeting. I'm a associate editor at Public Display Art Magazine, which is an art gallery magazine, and we had a meeting, and they had a torta. They do quesadillas and tacos and stuff, but they had a torta that went fucking crazy. It was al pastor, chopped up with little bits of pineapple, but then it had been sort of encased in cheese and then grilled, or maybe even deep fried. So it was like a carapace of cheese filled with al pastor and pineapple, onion, and pepper bits, and then it was on a torta with mayo and lettuce and some other shit. I will say the lettuce got a little wilted because the cheese wrapped al pastor patty was so molten hot. Lettuce had no business being on the sandwich, but the actual filling of the sandwich and the bread was nice. It blew my mind. I think about it. It was a week ago, and I'm thinking about it constantly.
Nice.
Yeah,
I have been to Baba Yaga, but
really?
not to eat food. I feel like this is a kind of a good opportunity to shout out the jazz collective that Dusty and I
Yeah.
try to support.
Okay.
They're called the Goodbye Look, and they get groups of jazz musicians to come from, like, we've seen people from Germany, like obviously New York, LA, Chicago, like all
Cool.
the main hubs of culture in our country and like European countries. It's a really incredible product. Like we've talked about how jazz is kind of like a thing in Seattle, especially like with the Pioneer Square Jazz Night
Yeah.
and all like Earshot Jazz. But the Goodbye Look is like the coolest thing you could possibly do is like
Cool.
go support them, especially if you like jazz, because it's not just like they're not just gonna play like standards and like have somebody up there singing like Frank Sinatra songs. It's gonna literally
Okay.
be like improvised, like avant-garde. The last time we saw them, it was a saxophone player that was also the composer, and she was composing for herself two stand-up bass players, like two double basses and a
Wow.
drummer. So that's like the arrangement that we saw, and it was like incredible to see both the double bass players like working with each other in that way, and then what she was doing with the saxophone was just like incredible. So I mean, whatever it is, like we've seen, more traditional trios with piano or like with a guitar player or whatever. But yeah, the Goodbye Look. If
Is
y'all want to be
that
cool, you should be there. It's
finally
really sick.
people can be cool? Is it always at Baba Yaga?
No, it's been at Bad Bar,
Okay.
but it seems like they're having to get more creative with their venues just because of increased interest. Like it literally is kind of a word of mouth thing,
Okay.
or at least it started that way.
Not anymore. Not
Yeah, I
once this
mean,
episode drops.
they filled up Baba Yaga. Jermaine Paul was the bass player there. He's touring with Pat Metheny right now, so
Oh
that kind
wow.
of just gives you like
Pat
an idea.
Metheny's still alive. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it gives you an idea of like how
Yeah.
serious some of these players are, because like that's a gig
Absolutely.
that you get like because this guy's already got like production credits for like hella like neo
Right.
soul and like R&B shit. Like he's like
Right.
actually like a legit player like in LA.
Cool.
And I think even after doing all that, it's like that's when people like Pat Metheny notice you and are like, "Oh, hey, do you want to like stop what you're doing with your career and like go on tour with me for like 2 years and make like a stupid amount of money doing that because I'm Pat Metheny?" And it's like,
What's
yeah.
up? I'm Pat Metheny. Yes or no? I'm Pat
Yeah,
Metheny.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I feel
totally.
like you can't really say no.
I like how music wends and wriggles its way into our conversation every single time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure the sandwich was great, but the one
Yeah.
time I was there,
Yes, good
the jazz
sandwich.
was really good too. Yeah.
You may or may not know this, but Baba Yaga used to be a very famous club called the Last Supper Club in the
Oh, cool.
grunge, like maybe post-grunge era, 90s to early 2000s. And so it gave me nostalgia points to go in there. Also, like, it's just really cool looking. They have
Yeah.
sort of like a 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s color palette, weird murals. It's a cool spot. Baba
It's like the
Yaga.
Denver airport.
It's not unlike the Denver airport, except it doesn't have a weird like cursed horse statue or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I also went to Field Bar in Tacoma, which is one of my favorite places on earth, for the Northwest Cider Symposium. Excuse me. They did an industry dinner, and we sampled. They did a cider pairing with each course, and it was beautiful and perfect. And I love that place. That's on 6th Avenue, which I call Tacoma's Broadway. And it's Brian Hibbard, who was at Bremer and Heel Tap and Sawyer for a while, and he's just a genius, and he works really closely with all the farmers. So it's Tacoman cuisine because it's like locally farmed produce. So that's it. I was going to mention that I went to Old San Juan in Lakewood, which was recommended to me by a Lyft driver who was a Puerto Rican guy from New York City. He's like, you got to go try the Puerto Rican food. But then we went down there and they were out of the thing that he told me to get, which was the chuletas. So the stuff we got was okay. We got a carne frita, which was like pork chunks that were fried a little bit too hard, but we did get a really good rice with little bits of bacon and pigeon peas. And we got the tree fongo, which is mofongo, but it has green plantains, maduros, and cassava, like in a like a layer cake of mofongo, which was delicious and interesting as well. So, Old San Juan and Lakewood, OSJ International is what the sign says. So.
You ever go to Pam's Kitchen in Wallingford?
Yeah, I went there a couple years ago with Steven, and we had some good stuff. I know she's struggling right now, so I keep meaning to go back. I feel like I've said that about everything today. I keep meaning to go back. Yeah. There's...
Well, they've I think they were closed intermittently. Like I definitely saw like some paper on the windows at some point. But Dusty and I made a point to go in there a couple times this past few months, and that's Caribbean food. So I mean, it's really really good.
What did you get? Do you remember?
Oh, I forget. I mean, I think I like to get, like oxtail or just like whatever the most like Caribbean thing you could get meat wise is, and then it's just beans and rice and like plantains, and like just the way they do all that stuff is just so good.
She used to be on the Ave. I used to go there when I lived in the U District, and she was on the Ave. But she's in Wallingford now in a much bigger space. When I go there, I like to sit at the bar and order, a red stripe beer or whatever, and then get some food.
They had a stand-up comedy night the one time we were there.
Oh, really?
And we were literally the only two people there that were not waiting to go and do stand-up comedy.
Oh no, that's a sad feeling.
It was a lot sadder for the stand-up comics than it was for us. Because there was a couple people that were, I laughed a couple times, but there were some people where it was like, man, just this thing never got off the ground, and there's no way that it can fly regardless of what you do.
And you're like, I came here to eat dinner, not to feel sad for people I don't know.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, have you ever tried to do stand-up comedy?
Yes. It's hard.
It seems hard. It seems like something I think I could do, but that also seems like a hilariously... You
can't. It's very hard. It's something you must study. I have hosted a lot of live shows. I've emceed a lot of stuff, and I still don't have the skills. I'm a performer. I was a piano performer, piano performance major. It's not the same as stand-up. Stand-up is a craft.
Yeah. It just feels like I do crowd work for my job.
You do, right?
It's like I do have to, and a lot of the times like it's a back and forth. So as long as I get like a little chuckle out of people, then I feel like I can like escape and walk away, so I can go to the next table.
That's what those people thought too when you saw them at Pam. They also felt that way. It's just hard. I mean, for all I know, you can do it, but it does take some skill that I know I sure as shit don't have. So.
Yeah, but anyway, that was a very memorable meal, not just because of the food, because there were just there was some wild shit going on that stage.
I think the takeaway is some wild shit. The takeaway here is go to Pam's, which is delicious.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, Caribbean food equals delicious. Will that do it for us? You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we did it.
We did it. We've done it.
I didn't realize that Uttam had a time restraint, so I hope I didn't take up too much of his time. But what an awesome person!
I think he was perfect.
I want to have him back.
Yeah, I enjoy Uttam. He always has something interesting to say. He's also very compassionate toward other businesses. Like he's trying to save other people too. He's trying to do research and then share it, and he's generous with his information. So
yeah, that's
trying to help everybody.
Well.
He's looking out for all Seattle's restaurants. Next week we have Skip Tognetti from Letterpress Distilling, who I adore, who's also very funny. And I don't know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all of the boozes that he makes. We're probably going to talk about whether people are drinking less and see what he thinks about that.
Sounds like it's what's on everybody's mind.
Do you know Letterpress at all?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah? Have you met?
I haven't met, but I've been working with those products, since I've been in Seattle, basically.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, he's fun. Let's call it. See you next week, everybody. Peace.
Bye.